because if we are living at 5% of our existence, depth, most people live like at less than 1%, we can be very honest with ourselves, but it's a very thin layer, right? That's where suddenly things pop, memories and traumas, and suddenly we behave in an unexpected way, and a disease shows out of the blue. Didn't come. And then as we come in, the layers get peeled, things come up. And when things come up, some of them are amazing, like you can have people meditate, amazing experiences. Some are difficult. But what do we do about it? We just let go. Like you said a few minutes ago, we don't control. And the PEMF is a method to bathe in a field that will help you do it, just like other methods.
Welcome to the PEMF Effect, where breakthrough science helps take control of your health. I'm Dr. Pawluk, and I'm here to guide you in tapping into the power of PEMF therapy for recovery, vitality, and total body wellness. From overcoming chronic pain, optimizing brain health, boosting energy, and aging with strength, this podcast is your path to cutting-edge solutions for lifelong well-being. If you're ready to move beyond symptom management and tap into your body's natural healing ability, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Today's episode was previously recorded on the Pain Solutions Summit that I hosted. This is Dr. Pawluk. Today I have with me again our esteemed guest, Dr. Eliaz, Isaac Eliaz. And today we're going to focus on this. The topic is different than the last one that we had. Last one was much more general and introduced the concept of the galectin and modified citrus pectin and meditation and basically holistic medicine. We ranged far and wide last time. Today, Dr. Eliaz wants to focus on the role of detox relative to not only galectin and modified citrus pectin, but also the role of detox in terms of the impact of PEMF therapy on the detox process. And we haven't delved into that a whole lot during this conference series, during the summit series. So this is a good topic to do at this time. So Dr. Eliaz, I don't think we need to reintroduce you again, but maybe we should do like a 2-minute explanation of who you are and why detox is so important for you.
Right. Well, in my background, I'm a physician. I'm a licensed acupuncturist. I'm trained vertically in multiple modalities. I'm an active researcher with active NIH grants. But I'm also highly trained in meditation and healing for decades. I started meditating at the age 15, and I'm soon going to close 50 years of practicing. So holding health and life in different places allows you to see a little bit of a larger picture, and I translated it into a simple concept, a simplified concept that does hold this depth, called the survival paradox. It's the name of my best-selling book that came in September. So we explained in the previous interview, we talked about what is the survival paradox. We explained that we all have an innate, kind of recapping quickly, we have an innate built-in survival response that we all know, otherwise that's what keeps us alive. And the survival response affects us in every level, cellularly, tissue, organ, as a person, as a community, etc. And because it's innate, it's automatically responds through the autonomic nervous system, through the sympathetic system, either by fighting, creating inflammation, war, or running away and hiding, which creates microenvironments in the body, creates fibrosis, creates dysfunction of tissue level and dysfunction of the person in many levels. So that's a paradox. And on a biochemical level, this is driven, as we talked, Bill, by galectin-3, by this carbohydrate binding protein that is triggered right away, goes to the different tissues who are under quote unquote danger, and delivers inflammatory compounds, hyperviscosity compounds, growth factors, and also compounds that will cause a cytokine storm. So that's very briefly about the survival paradox. When we want to change our health, and it's really important to try to hold an holistic view. An holistic view means we don't subscribe to one specific highway for making a change, and we understand that things are multidimensional and multifaceted. From interesting, because I speak now in different summits on different topics, from genetics and epigenetics affecting not only diseases, but there's a lot of interest now, affecting behavior, and behavior affecting our health. We want to understand that in order to change our health, we need to make change. And the first step in making change, the first step in being alive, is to let go, to create space. And the letting go, the exhalation, the relaxation, is a process of detoxification, of letting go. We come to this world, we let go, we exhale. We leave this world, we let go, we exhale. So our body goes constantly through a process of detoxification, exhalation, inhalation, where we take nourishment, and in between, if there is enough space and it works properly, we have transformation. Transformation in the lungs, when we let go of carbon dioxide, toxins, and get air, happening all the time, where the length of exhalation is twice as long as the length of inhalation. We detoxify more in order to be able to nourish. And it happens, of course, on a tissue level and on a cellular level, and even on the mitochondria. So the first step to allow us to be receptive to a medication, to an herb, or more subtly, to an acupuncture treatment, to homeopathic remedy, to craniosacral, and to PEMF, is to allow the space for things to happen. You know, it's like sending a wave in the water. If there is a huge dam, when you start the wave is not going to continue. It's going to stop at the dam. We have to open the dam. And this is a process. It's an amazing process, because when we open, we don't always know what's going to come out, right? Come out of our tissues, come out of our cells, come out of our trauma, come out of our epigenetic and genetic tendencies. But this is true healing, and we see it across the board. And I'm almost shifting towards more emphasizing it, Dr. Pawluk, because, you know, I see issues that now, like I see new epidemics, like mast cell activation, like SIBO, like overreactivity, cytokine storm. The body is overreacting. The body is in alarm state. So we can give medications to suppress the alarm, like you give antihistamine, mast cell stabilizers, but it's a symptomatic treatment. It does help people. The idea is to turn off the alarm. And an essential step is detoxification and creating space, creating time for things to happen. And especially for PEMF, when you're looking at a field that is working there, it's present there, but it's dynamic, you know, it's not static. If it hits a wall, it hits a wall. If it hits a tissue and a body that is more fluid, more flowing, on a physiological level, good hydration, on the level that the detox pathways are opened, on the level that there are no heavy metals, mycotoxin, pesticide, and the level that emotionally, mentally, psychologically, we are willing to change, which means we're willing to let go of toxins, let go of diseases, let go of concepts. Truly let go. The more we can do it, the more spontaneously we can heal. And you know, I had my own experience. I told you I'm right now in Hawaii, and I got COVID while teaching, and it affected my blood pressure. It was going up and down, and nothing happened. Nothing was helping. Medication, higher dosage. So I came here to the island, and it really took just 3 days. 3 days for me to, and I was still working a little bit, for me to totally open up and relax, and the blood pressure went back to what it was. Why? Well, I'm a little bit more trained in letting go. So some people will take longer, but the idea is a letting go process, and specifically in your field, it's very, very important. And of course, it's at the hands of the person who is getting the PEMF. And if they get other treatments, it's in the hands of the doctors, of the healers, you know, to allow the change to help. So even us, if there are doctors who are listening, for us, it's not to have a preconceived idea about what needs to change, about what's going to change, but to be open. And for the patient also to be open, because when we are open, when we don't have expectations, When we are not waiting for something, our alarm system goes down. Our survival system goes down. And then what happens? Our metabolism changes. And then we heal. You know, it's very, as you know so well, it's a very similar mechanism. It heals us from so many diseases, right? So that's really why it's a little bit of a explanation why this is so vital, so important. And it's a game changer. I see it when I do my meditation and healing retreats, and I see it when I work with people. I provide very sophisticated, high-tech specialty of mine in therapeutic apheresis, where I do research, where I filter the plasma from toxin, and I'm working specifically, my NIH grant is removal of galectin-3. So this is with major hospitals and researchers and you know, medical device development. But then sometime, you know, it's not sometime, often as part of the package, it's the 20 minutes of healing or half an hour with acupuncture that I do before the fancy treatment or after. And that's what really allows for the change to happen. So that's why I really wanted to talk about it, so people understand that detox is something we do every second, every time. So every breath, and ideally, if we are trained, every thought. The thought leaves us and we don't hold to it. And there is space. And then the next thought comes. That's a basic level of meditation. But if we are bound, thought, tied to thought, the stickiness of the mind causes physiological stickiness. Now, in Chinese medicine that you know very well, we'll call it blood stagnation. But that's an energetic stagnation, which starts from a mind stagnation. So movement, physical movement, hydration, and detoxification strategies are key to allowing the actual treatment. So somebody, for example, again, focusing on this summit, where PEMF is a key component of their health, then it will be like, you know, the icing on the cake or whatever you want to call it. It's like the head of the arrow. Okay, if you use this as your main therapy, it can be a supportive therapy, but let's say in this case, it's a main therapy, okay? It's like an arrowhead. So the arrow has to be sharp, but also the reception, everything that supports it, the whole baseline has to be supporting it, so it doesn't collapse. And that's kind of the idea why detox is key. And it's often misunderstood. Often people think detox, oh, we'll do colonics, we'll flush the liver. No, it's something to at least contemplate. Wow. And in my book, where I talk about the survival paradox, I explain how it works physiologically. And it's always stories, mainly of cancer patients, but different diseases. And then I go through all the main diseases. And then in the solution, the 3 last chapters, the first one is detoxification, where I go in depth, and we will provide this chapter to your participants. You know, I think it's a gift we're giving.
I would like to clarify one thing, because, and I think you're absolutely correct, that PEMF therapy, PEMFs are a physical modality. To a PEMF, the body doesn't exist.
Right.
The body doesn't, it's not there. It doesn't matter whether there's a body between the PEMF and some other place away from it. It basically goes through the body completely. So the issue with the PEMF is not the PEMF as much as it is from what we're talking about, what you're mentioning, is the condition of if you feel the field that the PEMF is passing through.
Exactly. The more changeable is also, if we go to Asian tradition, if we go to Buddhist tradition, that's what I'm trained in, the body also really doesn't, it exists and it doesn't exist. It really doesn't exist. It's changeable all the time. From quantum physics, nothing is solid. Everything is changeable all the time. We are mainly space. The problem, our body, which feels solid, is identified as solid. We contract, we hold. This contraction penetrates into our behavior, into our organs. So the reason why I gave just for me, other people can do the same, this story about my healing, is it because I'm trained to let go. When I had a chance, I let go. So it's a training, you know, it takes time. But the idea is that within simple tools, we have to do it on a physical level. We have to do it. And the first step, so critical, and I loved your explanation about the PEMF, because that's really what it is. The first level is to create space. Because when we create space in our life, when we create space between our exhalation and inhalation, when we are able to create some space between our thoughts. And for people who are listening who are savvy meditators, space, and that's hard to do, rare to come by, space within the thought, within the action, then everything can change. And then, just like you said so beautifully, the PEMF just go through, and then guess what? Everything harmonizes. This whole universe, is harmonized. We're just like, a tiny, momentary incident right here talking. But when we contract, when we hold it, change is gone. PEMF will hit a wall. And what is the holding? It is survival, right? Everything that comes falls away. The waves, the field knows it. It moves through as if nothing exists. It's beautiful. That's exactly what it is.
Yeah, nothing stops it. It's the environment that contacts the magnetic field. So I routinely tell people that magnetic field therapy doesn't do the work. The magnetic therapy is just a stimulus. It's just passing through. It's the wind blowing through the trees.
Exactly.
Right?
It's really
it's either a strong wind or it's a weak wind. But the tree, there's nothing between this tree and the next tree. And that magnetic field doesn't know whether it's between this tree and the next tree or it is the tree itself. Right.
And the Chinese image, if the tree is very flexible, which means it's hydrated, it's well done, it's not rigid, it will bend with the wind. If it's stiff, fighting, or not nourished, the wind will break it.
Yeah.
And that's really, that's another very, it's an image used in Chinese medicine. Yeah, totally.
So the state of the body then becomes the key. And we, in medicine and epidemiology, we talk about mild, moderate, and severe disease, right?
Right.
And if research studies don't take that into account, then what happens is you put all the people who have a condition into a box and say they're all equal. They're not, right? Some are mildly affected, some are moderately affected, some are severely affected. And so the ones that are severely affected, like the wind and the trees, then they're going to be more likely to break because they don't have that resilience. They don't have the balancing capacities that you need to be able to take that stimulation and work with it.
Exactly. So that's very accurate. And the other part to realize is that the disease is the end result and the highways to the disease are different. So if you really want, that's like what I mentioned about mast cell activation, which is really an alarm system that turns on so early, so you can get a physical, allergies, or you can get mental, always worrying about something that you have so much time to worry about and you're already worrying about it ahead of time. So the more we are willing to be opened, the more the change will happen. And it's important to recognize that it happens in all levels in our body. It's a part of our survival. Every cell in our body wants to take nourishment and it takes nourishment and it lets go of what it doesn't want, right? So very basic and relevant for you for PEMF is a sodium-potassium pump, keeping the right membrane potential, right? It's an active process with a boundary. But then there are all these receptors, insulin receptors, etc., that allow, for example, if insulin receptor is working well, then AMPK works well within the cell. You produce adenosine monophosphate, kinase works well. Mitochondria is open because another enzyme called mTOR1 and hypoxia is shut down. Mitochondria is opened. We produce energy very efficiently. 36 molecules of ATP for 1 glucose. If we are in survival mode, we are blocked. Insulin receptor is blocked, and galectin-3 will do it when the alarm is on and other things as well. Then AMPK is shut down. mTOR1 wakes up. There's not enough oxygen in the tissue, for example. Survival mode. And then mitochondria gets shut down. We move to glycolysis. Fast, emergency, inefficient. Lactic acidosis, oxidative stress, and every disease from cancer to etc., etc. So the idea is to create the space. And the space starts by creating space. And since we are here in life, we didn't come out of thin air. We are made from endless generations of people in the past, and we have so many things affecting us. We have to create space by letting go. And that's why my image of the breathing, when we come to this world, giving a cry and exhaling, and then we leave this world. If somebody sits next to someone who is dying, it's work I do often, just this profound letting go. So this is something that we do every moment in our life. If we can connect with this idea of letting go, that's where miracles happen, when we don't hold to our habits. Because habits and cofactors such as toxin and other stuff creates results, right? This is a highway I mentioned, how you get to the disease. If we change our habits, we can get into another highway. PEMF is one way to allow a balanced wave that is not tied to a certain imbalance, right? If our body is too rigid, it's like hitting the head on the wall. I always say, hit the head on the wall. But if you create space, suddenly you'll see the door. You know, it's so much easier, right, to go through the door. So this is why I thought people have to understand the profundity of detox. It's not talked about. It's only talk this method and that method and do this and do that. And then within it, then you start looking at the actual process of how you do healthy detoxification. And it's a process. And the more we understand it preemptively, and the more we prepare for it, the more effective and smooth it will be. And that's my experience, teaching and doing detox for people on all levels, from simple to intense meditation and healing retreats, to filtering of the blood, which is like the, literally, the whole plasma volume goes, it's like a dialysis with more sophisticated approach. So obviously, I had the experience, I see what comes out of the plasma, out of the blood in the bag, I actually see it. Amazing. I actually see what's in the blood. It's not like I speculate it. It's right there. So yeah, so this is what I'm trying to express in the context of your specialty today.
And I think one of the things that you're basically relating to is control.
Totally.
Right? And what we do is we believe that we're in control. We actually are. And that's the problem. We actually are.
Right.
Things are not usually done to us most of the time. We are doing them to ourselves by virtue of our reactions to whatever stimuli we have coming in.
Absolutely.
Right. And meditation, you learn through meditation to be able to as you said, let go, but you also learn how to be able to, in a sense, control better, more holistically, homeopathically.
Right. So I want to explain. That's a profound point. So yes, the expression of survival is reactivity, automated reactivity through the nervous system. Somebody speaks rude to us, we get upset. Normal response, but we don't let go. We hold it. It's not like a thought. We don't recognize the impermanence, changing nature of it. That's called reactivity. We try to create space and detoxify. So that's a medical approach, that's a life approach, and that's a meditation approach. Like, for example, mindfulness, which is very popular. It's the first step only. We slow down, we become mindful, and then we don't react. But there is one organ in the body, we touched it a little bit last time, but that's key to detoxification, which shifts us from detoxification to transformation. And this is really the essence of my work. I call it open heart medicine. Actually, it was supposed to be my first book. I wrote it in Hebrew, and then I decided to come with the second book, but the book is written, I'm going to come out with it. And why it's open heart medicine? Because the heart is the organ, the place, the center of our chest from an energetic point, is a place where we really do our work this life, where we do the fixing in Judaism, where we really transform. It's really where we get the deep purpose of life. And why? Because the heart is the only organ in the body that doesn't behave in a survival mode. The survival of the heart is to serve others. So the heart is the only organ that takes everything that every cell in the body doesn't want, right? All the dirty blood. The heart doesn't say, I'm going to take it only from the liver. I'm a friend with the liver, but I don't like the kidneys. The body can do it by narrowing the arteries in other places. Now, that's a problem of the kidneys, like kidney artery, renal artery stenosis, etc. We'll talk about it. It's a great topic. So the heart takes, we accept. Then the heart, instead of trying to do it itself, is connected with the universe. A molecule of air in our mouth is connected to the whole universe at the moment. So we exhale, we let go. Our drama, like you said, our control, what we do to ourselves, is insignificant for the infinite space around us. As long as we keep the environment clear, clean. That's why global warming is an expression of inner warming, inner inflammation. And that's why you can see SIBO and microbiome imbalances as part of the environment imbalances. It's so obvious. I've been writing about it for decades, but now there is an alarm around it. But so we exhale, and then we get inhalation, we get oxygen, and the transformation happens in the alveoli of the lungs. And then what does the heart do? It gives without discrimination. There is a stiff artery. It doesn't go in one, it gives blood everywhere. And the first organ, very important for people, it's the first step in healing. The first organ the heart nourishes is itself through the coronary artery. It's an image I'm really putting out in every talk. We nourish ourselves. Self-love is part of loving others. As part of nourishing others, we nourish ourselves. Nourishing ourselves in order to have the power to nourish others. So the survival of the heart is to serve the other, to understand the inseparability between the heart and its environment. Chinese will call the heart the emperor, and in almost every mystical tradition, the heart-mind connection, it's right there. But interesting, it's an image that I've brought to the forefront. I'm explaining the physiological basis of it. So we are built to take negative feeling, stuff from the past, connect with the universe, let go, and transform it. Physically, we do it. Otherwise, we won't be talking now, we would be dead. But we have a door to train in doing it with our mind, with our behavior. And there's a certain meditation techniques where you take suffering, you give love and compassion, Tonglen. That's why you learn them, like within hours, you become a master in them because they are part of our physiology. You don't need to spend decades training them. And this is really where change and transformation happens. So that's when we shift from reactivity to responsiveness. Whatever comes to us, our response becomes an open heart, love and compassion and understanding. Now, when we train, for example, in meditation, which wasn't necessarily the topic to start with, one moment we have it, one moment we don't have it. That's really our qualities, for people from Judeo-Christian tradition, I'm from Israel, we would say, in the Bible, it says, we were born in the image of God. But that's the divine part in us, being able to connect with this on a cellular level, on a cellular level. That's the real healing. That's the real transformation. But it has a profound effect on us health-wise. The more we do this process, and in a moment, I do want to go over the process of detoxification because it is practical, actually, and not so complicated. The process of detoxification allows a change. Now, when we look at PEMF at this level, we say, okay, now we are ready for the change. Let the wave come. Let's bathe in it and just let go in it, and unite with it, right? If it goes through you, Bill, it's not separate from the field anymore. We are part of the field, right? So you can see, right? Almost sound like the Matrix, but in any case.
And also, I think what you're saying is that the PEMF, as it's passing through you, it's teaching you. Are you tired of living with chronic pain? Medication only masks the symptoms, but real healing starts at the cellular level. I'm Dr. William Pawluk, the leading expert on PEMF therapy. Pulsed electromagnetic field therapy is a science-backed, drug-free solution that helps reduce pain, speed up recovery, and improve overall health, right from the comfort of your home. Take advantage of an exclusive 10% discount on drpawluk.com PEMF systems. Visit drpawluk.com, that's drpawluk.com, to register and claim your savings. This limited time offer is available only to registered listeners. Don't miss your chance to experience the benefits. Terms and conditions do apply. Don't just manage pain, transform your health. Visit drpawluk.com today and let's get started on your healing journey together.
Of course, it's connecting you. It's not really teaching you, it's reminding you who you really are.
In that sense, it's teaching. So what you do is you have to look at your reaction to it, just like you look at any other reaction. If I say boo, do you go like that. Or if I say boo, you smile and say, oh, that's interesting. You have a choice. And PMFs are like that. They're totally neutral, right? They don't have an agenda.
Absolutely. You know, really, the ultimate image for this, again, we're going esoteric, is a mirror. If the mirror is shining and clean, it doesn't care what's in the mirror. And the mirror is not changed by the reflection in the mirror. It's our mind, like you said, it's our holding that changes, you know. And that's, how do you do it? You let go. Letting go is detox. And that's why I picked this today. But as you can see, it's taking it a little bit to uncharted territories from the point of view of providing the audience with a different level of understanding. In my experience, as somebody, you know, when I say train vertically, I started training in healing method and martial arts when I was 15. Okay, so years of acupuncture, years of TCM, years of classical homeopathy, decades of meditation, 20 years, 2 months a year in the mountains, 10 years half day. So tens of thousands of hours. But this is really, the more I did it, the more I realized, wow, it's actually really simple. We just forgot how to do it. And what you are saying, it's teaching us, it's neutral. And that's another angle of the same, you know, universal healing principle. Definitely.
All right. So that's a background. That's a deep dive background in the connection. And I wanted to ask you if you could just address for a second before we really move into the detox process. There are different levels of the heart too, right?
Right.
So if you think in terms of the chakras, but there are, I don't know how many levels you would describe the heart to have. You know, one end is the basic filial love and the love of a child or the love of an animal or even the love of an object, a baseball or a favorite picture.
Right.
At the other end is, let's say, agape.
And what? I couldn't hear you.
Agape.
Yeah.
So agape basically is that kind of universal love, is the connection. Right.
Yeah, it's true. And the relative simple and the universal, just like you said, their source is the same. They are actually no different. It's just we have a different capacity to experience different levels. And that's really the journey of love. You know, people often tell me, you know, this person is very spiritual and yeah, you should really talk to him or interview him or talk on it. And I say, yeah, it's okay if they are spiritual, but it's not the key thing. Are they kind, you know? Are they willing to do things for others just out of sharing their heart with no agenda? That's really what counts. And that comes from the heart. So, you know, but it's different people have different doors to this growth. And some people it's very physical and certain diets, or some people it's exercise, some people it's more energy movement like Qigong, Tai Chi, you know, PMF. Some people is their mind and heart opens in meditation. And each of us has their own combination. Some people is through, you know, through religion and prayer. It's what we call body, speech, mind in Buddhism, you know, physical part, expression part, and really connecting with our mind. And to connect with the depth, we have to create space. So it can penetrate, just like you said, you know, it's not blocked. And we also have to be honest with ourselves. You know, we can bluff in how we move. We can bluff in how we talk. All the people can catch us. You know, like when I talk, you can feel I'm coming from my heart. You know, it's an experience what I'm talking about. It's not a theory. And when we connect with our mind, we can bluff the mind. We know what's going inside. We know what's going inside. So it's a journey. And it's, you know, in Chinese medicine, the esoteric part, the discussion about honesty, how honest we are, which is one level. And again, I'm focusing on your topic. And again, how deep is our reality? How deep are we connected with the depths of our existence? Because if we are living at 5% of our existence, depth, most people live like at less than 1%. We can be very honest with ourselves, but it's a very thin layer, right? That's where suddenly things pop, memories and traumas, and suddenly we behave in an unexpected way, and a disease shows out of the blue. Didn't come. And then as we come in, the layers get peeled, things come up. And when things come up, some of them are amazing, like you can have people meditate, amazing experiences. Some are difficult. But what do we do about it? We just let go. Like you said a few minutes ago, we don't control. And the PEMF is a method to bathe in a field that will help you do it, just like other methods. But if we look at it within the detox process, now that we talk about how in depth with us, we have detox that goes all the time. All right, we said with every breath, at nighttime, the digestion system rests, it lets go, the value of intermittent fasting, okay, different metabolism that allows different parts of the cell to function. But so that's a daily one. When we want to do a more concerted effort, either seasonally, spring and fall, classical, or related to a disease, or that's when we have time. The first step is to prepare, to really think, what do we want to let go of? And that can be specific things on all levels, physical, emotional, mental, psychological, psycho-spiritual, and can also be the idea that we are also letting go of deciding what we can let go of, that we don't have an expectation. That's the hardest part to do. Then, in order to detoxify, we need to expose. And again, in my chapter on detox, I go about in detail. To expose is not so simple because the areas which are problematic tend to hide. That's where the biofilms are. That's where the atherosclerotic part is. That's where tumors grow, cancer. Well, the coating that creates the isolation, the lattice formation, is made out of galectin-3 pentamers. So when we use Pectasol, modified with respect in that I developed, which has close to 80 published papers, it will dissolve the lattice formation. And that's why you can see research on MCP in every single disease. You know, it started with cancer, but now suddenly so many reports in mycotoxin, in pesticides, you know, in muscle activation. Why? It's dissolving. And suddenly the body can reach where it needs to have change. But then when you open the drawers, you need to be able to bind the toxins. And again, MCP is a superb binder, but people can use different binders, and then you need to remove it. And that's where liver phase 1 and phase 2 detoxification happens. And then this is really the discharge, and then the elimination system, the gut, the breath, the skin, the urination. And it's important to realize, just in the spirit of this talk, phase 1 of detoxification is being aware that there is a problem, right? There is a conjugation. The like stuff comes to the surface. Wow, it's toxic. It's hard to handle, right? That's why imbalance between phase 1 and phase 2, you get a lot of side effects. Phase 2 is conjugating, is saying, okay, let's get you out of here. So that's the same process of letting go. That's why the liver deals with the past, with letting go, and the liver deals with the future. It's the biggest factor, it's the biggest planner in our body. It's the general in Chinese medicine. It's the biggest factory for enzymes, for different molecules. It does both. That's why it's such a complex organ. It is often blamed for everything, you know. It's its very unique role. If we can go and understand this concept of past, present, future, we really get to our essence. So that's really the process of detoxification. And within it, we have to keep balance and support. We have to give energy to the body. It takes energy to detoxify. And in this sense, PEMF can be a great support, you know, because you're right there and the field is holding you, you know. And that's one area. And then also you want to give, so you can use some tonic herbs, blood circulating herbs, and probiotic, prebiotic to support the gut. And so that's really the process that I really, you know, we touched on so many things, and so I'm doing it briefly. And we need to recognize that there are obstacles to detoxification. It can be emotional, psychological, which I will put aside for a second, but it can be a scar from a surgery. It's more often blocked detox pathways, and a lot due to heavy metals, but even more now, pesticides and mycotoxins. So pesticides, over 90% of US citizens have glyphosate in their blood, such a toxic material. And I mean, just to get a sense, 330 million pounds a year being sprayed, a pound per person, can you believe? They dedicated a pound to us now. People who live in the Midwest next to a cornfield, you don't want to know, or soy field. So what happens, and the glyphosate, for example, is an example, yes? I do some research on it. I'm now in the middle of a clinical trial with it. It comes in formulation which are more toxic. What does glyphosate do? It disrupts the lining of the gut. So it creates leaky gut. It creates autoimmune processes. It affects the brain. It travels to the brain and exchanges with glycine and becomes a neurotoxic excitatory. It can go into different tendons. And we know very clearly it affects the kidneys, for example, much higher incidence of chronic kidney disease, the most common disease in the United States that people are not aware. So you got glyphosate, you got other pesticides, you got all the industrial toxins. If there are airplanes flying above you, that's enough. You know, they spray all the MTBE byproducts, small airplanes, you also get some lead. So that's what's happening to us. So part of it is addressing and removing these toxins and the understanding that they affect all the aspects of our lives. They affect plants, they affect meat, they affect our water, they affect our soil. That's why my specific solution, Glypho Detox, I take solutions from all these kingdoms, because my approach is wherever there is a problem, nature will also offer a solution. So we have to address pesticides, heavy metals in whatever way we want as part of creating the space. Because as you know, these are charged molecules, Bill, you know, they're going to affect your membrane potential. They're going to make PEMF not work, not allow it to do its job or other treatments, because membrane potential is different. And then they bind. And then once you get glyphosate, well, it carries aluminum or into the brain, you know, it changes the microbiome, and which is really our community within our body. It's our relationship with the community around us. And again, so in this sense, I really wanted to give these images. So just like you said, you know, you said PEMF really is just there, you know, the body really is the one who accepts it. So I wanted to shed a little bit more light of how to really do it and why things don't work and how we can make them work better. That really was the goal of my second interview, and I think we both of us did it.
We touched on that. So what are some of the? I mean, MCP. Let's be practical in a sense. You got all these issues, and you do have to work on your mind. You have to work on your heart. You have to work on your relationships, your goals and objectives.
Of course,
you're who you are, basically.
Right.
But at a practical level, we're going to move to a point where we're lighter.
Right.
We're less attached, and we're going to float in a sense. I'm surprised you're not floating right now.
Yeah.
But let's be practical. So what do you do? How does MCP relate to, how does MCP help with detox specifically?
Because MCP, modified protein specific, is the one research, Pectasol. It breaks it binds to the galectin-3 and it neutralizes the inflammatory effect. It breaks it down. So it stops the ongoing inflammatory process. It stops the cytokine storm, for example, but it also binds to heavy metals, well documented. I published a number of papers. It removes heavy metals. It's positively charged heavy metals, lead, mercury, you know, arsenic, cadmium, nickel, cesium, uranium. We published a paper. And so it does this process. It allows the cell to rebalance. So in this sense, and so the issue is that sometimes when you have just binders, then you get side effects. But here you have something that regulates and stops the inappropriate